My girlfriend has no goals or aspirations and will be homeless without my help, but I need to prioritize my future now.
She is begging me to give her 3 months to change and not break up with her. I, 28M, have been dating Mia, 26F, for almost 3 years now, and I'm at the end of my rope. What started as a fun, exciting relationship with someone I thought was just going through a temporary rough patch has turned into me essentially being a caretaker for an adult who refuses to take care of herself. When Mia and I first met at my college buddy's wedding, she was working as a part-time yoga instructor while also managing a small crystal shop downtown. She had all these dreams about opening her own wellness center someday, combining yoga, crystal healing, and meditation classes. I was impressed by her passion and how she could talk for hours about her vision. She had this electric energy that drew people to her, myself included.
We hit it off immediately.
Our first date lasted 8 hours. We went from coffee to lunch to an impromptu hike to dinner, and the conversation never stopped. For the first 6 months, everything was amazing. She was independent, had her own apartment, paid her own bills, and seemed to have her life together. Then the crystal shop went out of business. The owner, an elderly woman who had become something of a mentor to Mia, decided to retire and close up shop rather than sell the business.
Mia was devastated.
Not only had she lost her main source of income, but she'd lost the place she thought would eventually become her own business. I supported her through it all. Emotionally at first, then financially when she couldn't make rent after a couple of months of searching for new work.
It's just temporary, she assured me. I'll get back on my feet soon. I believed her because, well, why wouldn't I?
Everyone hits rough patches. She moved in with me just until she found a new job.
The yoga studio where she taught part-time couldn't offer her more hours, so her income was minimal.
I didn't mind covering rent and groceries for a while. I have a good job in IT that pays well, and I had been saving up for years. I could afford to help out the woman I loved during a difficult transition. But weeks turned into months, and her job search became increasingly sporadic. At first, she would spend hours each day sending out applications, but after a string of rejections, her enthusiasm waned. She stopped going to job interviews because they were bad vibes or not aligned with her spiritual path. The yoga studio eventually let her go because she kept showing up late or canceling classes at the last minute.
I tried to be understanding.
I encouraged her to maybe look outside her field, suggesting she could take a regular job while building her wellness business on the side. She'd agree, promised to look into it, then I'd come home the next day to find her binge-watching Netflix or scrolling endlessly through social media, claiming she was manifesting opportunities.
After a year of this, I finally had a serious talk with her.
I told her I couldn't keep supporting both of us indefinitely and that she needed to contribute. She broke down crying, saying she felt lost and didn't know what to do with her life anymore. I softened, feeling guilty for pressuring her when she was clearly struggling. That became our pattern. Every few months, I'd reach my breaking point, we'd have the talk, she'd cry and promise to change, I'd feel like a monster for pushing her, and nothing would actually change.
Last week, everything came to a head.
I got offered a dream promotion at work, a significant salary increase, more responsibility, and the chance to relocate to our company's headquarters in Seattle. I've been working toward this for years, and it's exactly the career move I've always wanted. When I told Mia about it, expecting at least some congratulations, she immediately made it about her.
But what about me? I don't know anyone in Seattle. How could you even consider this? Do you know how hard it would be for me to start over somewhere new?
I tried explaining that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, that we could find her connections in the wellness community there, that Seattle has a huge market for the kind of business she's always talked about starting. But she wouldn't hear it.
If you loved me, you wouldn't even think about moving, she said. You know I can't afford to live here without you. Where would I go? Back to my parents?
They've made it clear they won't support me unless I get a real job at their insurance company.
Is that what you want for me? To crush my spirit in some corporate nightmare? I finally snapped.
I told her that her spirit hasn't seemed very concerned with reality for the past 2 years. That I've been crushing my spirit working overtime to support her while she contributes nothing.
That I'm tired of postponing my goals while she's abandoned hers entirely.
She stormed out and stayed with a friend for 2 days. When she came back, she was eerily calm. She sat me down and, with tears streaming down her face, asked for 3 months.
3 months to turn my life around. 3 months to prove to you that I can change, that I can be the partner you deserve. Please, don't give up on me yet. I'll get a job, any job. I'll start contributing. I'll support your promotion even if it means moving. Just give me a chance to show you I can do this. The thing is, I've heard versions of this promise so many times before. 3 months would put us right at the deadline for accepting the promotion and relocation.
Part of me thinks she's just stalling, hoping I'll miss the opportunity. But another part of me remembers the vibrant, ambitious woman I fell in love with and wonders if she's still in there somewhere.
Do I owe her these 3 months? Or am I just setting myself up for more disappointment and potentially losing the career opportunity I've worked so hard for? Update, 1 month later. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support on my original post. After reading through all your comments and doing some serious soul searching, I decided to give Mia a conditional 3 months. I told her I would accept the promotion and begin preparations to move to Seattle, but I'd hold off on making any final decisions about our relationship until she showed me concrete progress. The first week after our conversation, Mia was a whirlwind of activity. She updated her resume, applied to several jobs, reconnected with her old yoga instructor friends to see about picking up classes, and even started looking into what it would take to get certified as a wellness coach. I was cautiously optimistic. She landed a job at a local health food store after her second week of searching. It wasn't her dream job by any means, but it was steady employment with flexible hours that would allow her to build up her yoga teaching on the side. She came home from her first day excited about the employee discount and how she'd met several people interested in wellness services. I was proud of her and made sure to tell her so. For the first time in ages, we had a nice dinner out that SHE paid for with her first paycheck. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we were turning a corner. Then came the multi-level marketing scheme. One of her co-workers at the health food store invited her to a business opportunity meeting about being her own boss and building passive income. Despite my warnings about MLMs, Mia was enthralled. The company sold essential oils and wellness products, which aligned perfectly with her interests. Before I could intervene, she'd signed up as a wellness advocate and spent $600 on a starter kit of products. "This is it," she exclaimed when I expressed concern about the investment. "This is how I'll build my wellness empire. I can sell these products now and eventually open my own studio once I have enough clients. The woman who recruited me makes $10,000 a month." I tried explaining how MLMs work, showing her articles about the failure rates and predatory practices, but she accused me of not supporting her dreams and being negative about her first real opportunity. She stopped going to her job at the health food store after just 3 weeks, claiming she needed to focus full-time on building her business. Her days were now spent messaging every person she'd ever met, trying to sell them overpriced essential oils or recruit them into her downline. She hosted parties at our apartment where she'd invite friends and acquaintances to listen to her pitch. Most people came once out of politeness and then avoided her calls afterward. After a month of this, she hadn't made a single sale. Instead, she'd invested another $400 in more products because her upline convinced her she needed a wider range to attract customers. When I reminded her that the whole point was for her to become more financially independent, she assured me she was investing in her future and would start seeing returns any day now. Meanwhile, I continued preparing for the Seattle move. I had video calls with my new team, started looking at apartments online, and mapped out a timeline for the transition. Mia alternated between ignoring these preparations entirely and making snarky comments about how I was already checked out of our relationship. The breaking point came last night. I was on a call with a real estate agent in Seattle, looking at potential apartment options via video chat. Mia walked in and, without warning, began addressing the agent. "Hi, I'm Mia, his girlfriend. I just want to make sure any place we look at has space for my home office. I'm running my own wellness business and need room for product storage and client consultations." I was stunned. We had not discussed her coming to Seattle at all since her MLM involvement began. After the call, I confronted her. "What was that about? We haven't agreed that you're moving with me, especially given how things have been going with your 3-month plan. She looked genuinely confused. Of course I'm coming with you. Where else would I go? And I need to consider my business needs for our new place. What business? You haven't made a single sale, Mia. You've only lost money on this MLM scheme. She exploded. It's not a scheme. You've never supported me. You're just jealous that I'm finally finding my purpose while you slave away for some corporation. My upline says negative people like you are dream killers, and I'm starting to believe her. The argument escalated until she finally blurted out something that made my blood run cold. Anyway, I already told my parents I'm moving to Seattle for an amazing business opportunity. I even borrowed $2,000 from them to invest in my next level of inventory. It turns out she had been painting a completely fictional picture to her family, claiming wild success in her new business venture and saying that we were relocating to expand it. She had essentially burned her safety net bridge by lying to the only people who might have taken her in if we broke up. When I went to bed last night, I noticed something else disturbing. My credit card was missing from my wallet. I checked my account online and found $1,800 in charges from the MLM company, made just hours earlier. When confronted, Mia claimed she had meant to ask, but I was busy on my call, and this was a limited time opportunity for some special package that would definitely turn everything around. So here I am, 1 month into our 3-month agreement, with a girlfriend who has quit her legitimate job after 3 weeks. Sunk over $1,000 of her own limited funds into an MLM. Borrowed $2,000 from her parents under false pretenses. Stolen $1,800 from me for more MLM products. Made exactly $0 in return. I've canceled the credit card and moved most of my money to an account she can't access. I'm at a complete loss about what to do now. The Seattle move is happening in 2 months whether I like it or not. I still care about Mia, but I feel like I'm watching someone determined to self-destruct, and she's trying to take me down with her. Update, 3 months later, the finale. It's been exactly 3 months since my original post, and so much has happened that I hardly know where to begin. But I promised a final update, so here it is, the full, wild conclusion to my situation with Mia. After discovering the credit card theft, I realized I couldn't wait any longer. I told Mia that I was accepting the Seattle position and would be moving in 2 months as planned, but that our relationship was over. I gave her 30 days to find a new living situation, which I thought was generous considering the credit card incident. Her reaction was apocalyptic. She cycled through crying, begging, accusing, threatening, and bargaining, sometimes all within the same hour. She swore she'd pay me back, that the essential oil business was just about to take off, that she'd get a real job immediately. When none of that worked, she tried guilt-tripping me about making her homeless. I stood firm but offered to help her look for affordable housing options or roommate situations. She refused, saying none of them would honor her spiritual journey. Instead, she spent the next 2 weeks doubling down on her MLM efforts, hosting more parties in our apartment while I was at work, and generally pretending our breakup conversation had never happened. Meanwhile, I continued preparing for my move. I gave notice at work, started packing non-essential items, and finalized an apartment lease in Seattle. I tried to be compassionate toward Mia while maintaining my boundaries, but it was exhausting. Then came the first unexpected twist. About 3 weeks after our breakup, Mia came home practically floating with excitement. She'd reconnected with an old friend from her yoga teacher training who now owned a small but successful yoga studio on the other side of town. The friend had offered her a job managing the studio's retail section and teaching 2 classes per week. See? I told you things would work out. The universe provides when you align with your purpose, she exclaimed, conveniently glossing over the fact that she had found this opportunity only after I forced her hand with the breakup. I congratulated her but reminded her that our relationship status hadn't changed and she still needed to find her own place. She brushed this off, saying she'd manifest the perfect living situation now that she had income coming in. A week later, she announced she'd found an apartment. It was tiny and in a less than ideal neighborhood, but it was within her budget based on her new job. I was relieved and helped her move some of her things over there, though she left plenty of stuff at my place, claiming she'd get it later. I thought we were finally moving toward an amicable separation. I was wrong.
2 days before I was set to drive to Seattle, I decided to road trip my belongings rather than fly. I came home to find my apartment door unlocked. Inside, Mia was directing two men who were loading my furniture into a moving truck.
What the hell is going on? I demanded. Mia smiled serenely.
Oh, I realized my new place is too small for all my things, so I'm putting some stuff in storage until I find somewhere bigger.
That's my furniture,
I shouted, pointing at my couch and TV stand that were halfway out the door. She had the audacity to look confused.
But we bought these together. We're supposed to be splitting things. We had absolutely not bought these together.
I had furnished my entire apartment before she ever moved in. When I pulled out receipts proving ownership, she switched tactics. Fine, but you owe me for all the emotional labor I've provided over the years.
Do you know how expensive therapy is? I've been your personal therapist, chef, and life coach.
That's worth at least a few pieces of furniture. I called the police, who arrived and quickly determined that the furniture was indeed mine.
They made the movers unload everything and instructed Mia to leave.
As she was walking out, she turned to me with cold eyes.
You'll regret this. I gave you my best years, and this is how you thank me.
I spent that night sleeping on my rescued couch with a chair wedged under the doorknob, half expecting her to return. She didn't, but the next morning, I discovered she'd contacted my mother on Facebook, spinning a tale about how I was having a mental breakdown and abandoning her after she sacrificed everything for my career.
Thankfully, my mom had met Mia enough times to see through this and warned me immediately.
I changed my locks, finished packing, and prepared to leave first thing the following morning. I thought the Mia chapter of my life was finally closing. Then came the most bizarre twist of all. At 6 a.m. on moving day, I was loading the last boxes into my SUV when a sleek black Tesla pulled up behind me.
A tall, professionally dressed woman stepped out and approached me.
"Are you, my name?" she asked. When I confirmed, she handed me a business card.
I'm Eliza Winters, CEO of Luminous Living Enterprises. I believe you know my sister, Mia. I was floored.
Mia had told me she was estranged from her older sister, who had sold out to corporate America and abandoned her spiritual values. She described Eliza as working some boring finance job that had crushed her soul. In reality, Eliza ran a legitimate, successful wellness company that manufactured organic skincare products and operated a chain of high-end yoga studios across 3 states. And she was nothing like the cold corporate drone Mia had described.
I think we should talk, Eliza said.
I've been looking for my sister for almost 2 years.
Over coffee at a nearby diner, Eliza told me the real story.
Mia had worked for her company right out of college, starting at the bottom but rising quickly thanks to her natural charisma and wellness knowledge. Eliza had been grooming her to eventually take over a branch of the family business.
But Mia grew resentful of having to follow rules and report to her sister.
After embezzling nearly $30,000 from the company to fund a lavish vacation with a boyfriend, before me, she disappeared rather than face consequences. Eliza had filed a police report but ultimately decided not to press charges if Mia would agree to a repayment plan.
Mia had simply vanished instead.
I tracked her down about 2 years ago, Eliza explained, right around when she must have met you. I offered her a path to make amends, therapy, a repayment plan, and eventually a way back into the company if she proved herself. She promised to think about it, then blocked my number and told our parents I was threatening her. Eliza had been monitoring Mia from afar through their parents and social media, waiting for her to hit rock bottom and hopefully become receptive to help. When Mia told their parents she was moving to Seattle for a wellness business opportunity, Eliza had gotten my name and tracked me down. "I'm sorry to put this on you as you're literally leaving town," she said, "but I wanted you to know the truth.
And I wanted to make sure you were okay.
My sister has a pattern of latching onto supportive people and depleting them before moving on." I told Eliza everything, the 3 years of supporting Mia, the credit card theft, the furniture incident, all of it. She listened attentively, occasionally nodding as if these stories confirmed what she already knew. "I love my sister," she said finally, "but she needs professional help that neither of us can provide. She's not a bad person, but she has issues with reality and responsibility that go beyond simple laziness.
Before leaving, Eliza handed me an envelope.
Inside was $2,000 in cash. I know it doesn't cover everything she's taken from you, but please accept this as a small restitution. And here's my card. If she contacts you again or creates problems, call me immediately. I finished loading my car and left for Seattle that afternoon, my head spinning from this final revelation. I blocked Mia on all platforms and asked friends to do the same. 2 weeks into my new life in Seattle, I received a package at my new address, which I had never given Mia. Inside was my missing credit card, cut in half, along with a check for $1,800 and a note in unfamiliar handwriting, closing the account. Eliza had found her sister after all.
It's been a month now in Seattle.
My new job is challenging and rewarding, my apartment has a view of Puget Sound, and I've even been on a couple of dates with a chemist who creates natural perfumes and actually sells them through legitimate channels. As for Mia, I heard through a mutual friend that she's finally in therapy and working at the reception desk of one of her sister's yoga studios, with strict financial oversight. Apparently, Eliza gave her one last chance, but with serious guardrails this time. The 3 months I gave Mia didn't transform her into the partner I needed, but they did eventually lead her to the help she needed.
Just not in any way I could have anticipated. The lesson I've learned? Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop protecting them from the consequences of their actions. And sometimes, the universe does provide, just not in the way anyone expects.